34 years isn't that long, unless you're Iron Fist. When you're stretching something out too long, why stop at trilogies? James Gunn says just do it right the first time. Twisters is finally going to be watchable. All this and more on Cutting Edge Hero Live. Welcome to Cutting Edge Hero. I am the Nerd King, Danny Stewart. I am your host for this show. And I say that every week like I'm not the host every week, but I am the host every week as well. Joining me tonight for the first time since last week, it is the ever lovely, indomitable, and charming Landon Felter. Landon, say hi to the nice people.
Well, everyone, just like every week, I'm running tech and providing emotional support.
That's true. I was crying on his shoulder shortly before we went live. Landon, thank you for also having the best shoulders in the biz. Love and appreciate so much about you. Also, we have Billy Rhodes in the chat. Billy, what is up? Glad you're here. Space Boy, as always, a pleasure to see you typing. I was going to say pleasure to see you, but I literally can't see you from here. You were sitting in the studio one time, and that was kind of nice. But also, Man King 27. Yeah, man, I'll add you on the Discord after the show. Thanks for dropping in. And Justin Quick, glad you're here, Justin. Thank you for joining us as always. Ben Stewart, our human relations specialist and fact checker extraordinaire, should be in the chat any minute now. I don't know when he's dropping in. The guy's got kids. He'll figure it out. But whenever you get here, Ben, say hi to the nice people. Landon, what's the nerdiest thing you've done this week?
Nerdiest thing I've done this week, I've just really been playing a whole lot more RimWorld. I've picked up a bit more of Dark Souls 1. I just started a playthrough today, actually. But other than that, kind of a pretty standard week for me.
Yeah, I got Demon Souls whenever they dropped it on PlayStation Plus, and I still have not played it. And I am yet to get the expansion for Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree. So a little bit behind on that. Kenpachi says, Kenpachi, glad you're here, first of all. Love to see you in the chat. Miss you, buddy. And Kenpachi said, Landon is actually on screen right now, but he's invisible. Amazing superpower. Yes, that and his superpower to support me in all my endeavors. Both incredible. Nerdiest thing I have done this week, Landon, you are going to be so shocked. You are going to just be, I know, like, I'm going to have to come over there and pick your jaw up off the floor. I finished my second read of the Stormlight Archive. Guess what I'm doing? A third read of the Stormlight Archive. That's right. I am jumping into a third round of these 3,000 plus page books to enjoy it another time because I wasn't comfortable without it in my life.
Holy shit.
I know. I've got a problem, guys. I have a problem. I love fantasy series and I read pretty prolifically when I have time. Fortunately, I also have Stormlight Archive in audio format, and that makes it a lot easier because I can just never put it down, which is great. It makes it much faster. I also convinced our human relation specialist and fact checker extraordinaire Ben to start the Stormlight Archive. He's currently reading it in regular format, and I'm waiting on him to finish some really important plot points so we can talk about it. But yes. So that's the nerdiest thing I've done this week. An immediate third read through of a book series for no reason other than that I just missed it so much.
I mean, just wanting to do it, isn't that a good enough reason to do most of anything?
Absolutely. I think the Spaceboy says 3,000 pages sounds like a lot. That's actually the smallest book in the series. Is 3,000. Like I think the biggest one is like upwards of 5,000 pages. It's a lot. They're big books. They're like ridiculously big books. But anyway, totally worth it. If you get a chance, check them out. Any of the Brandon Sanderson stuff, Mistborn, Warbreaker, Elantris, Stormlight Archive, any of the novellas. If you get a chance, jump in. Totally recommend. And then obviously I'm going to jump in on that Stormlight Archive TTRPG that we were covering last week. As soon as I can get my hands on that too. They're still pumping those numbers up huge on Kickstarter. Like, they're making hand over fist money there.
I gotta ask, do you think you will be very critical because it's from something you love, or do you think you're gonna be just excited to get more of the Stormlight Archive?
It really depends. That hey, this is a thing I'm into, like nostalgia factor, like immediate nostalgia factor of like going from loving a book series to like finding a new part of the property is pretty strong for me. That being said, there's like pretty realistic instances, like the whenever they I'm a big fan of Terry Goodkind's Sword of Truth series. I have the Sword of Truth tattooed on the back of my neck. It was kind of like the biggest fantasy series for me as a teenager and then like growing up. And then they made a TV series out of it called Legend of the Seeker that was absolute dog shit. And I just like was so excited for the series to come out, told all my family. The premiere day came. I drug my mom and dad and all my brothers and sisters who were around in front of the TV to watch it with me, just be like, get ready to have your mind blown. This is going to be incredible. And it was garbage. Like, it is so far from the book property, like that they could have just like, and I've said this about a couple other properties. They could have called it something else entirely, and it probably would have been okay. But the fact that it was supposed to be Sword of Truth, so bad. Just I could not imagine a worse reception for something that I loved so much. And then obviously Wheel of Time did the same thing. Amazon got the rights to the Wheel of Time live action, and immediately, like first episode, just fucked up most of the characters. It was like, how do you get back to the story that finishes 13 books later from this point that you have established in the story?
Well, of course, that's always an adaptation of like shows from books, but this being a game that you can play, and since it's like a TTRPG, you're going to be more of a driving force and probably more of a narrative force.
Correct. And the really cool thing about it is just set in the world with some like it just really explains how you can use these different magic systems in a role-playing setting, and then leaves the rest of it open to you to like write the stories yourself. So I don't know that anything will ever replace Dungeons and Dragons for me, but I think it is cool to have alternatives. There's a lot of times when you're like, I would really like to play this in like a tabletop format, but like 5e just does not work for it, or the new player handbook's coming out this year, and they just don't work for every kind of system. And so in this case, like where Brandon Sanderson was actually a big part of making this and figuring out the rules for how the characters work, I think that this will just be an enjoyable way to create adventures inside a world that I already love. And then the cool thing is that whenever they announced it, it was initially supposed to just be the Stormlight Archive TTRPG, and they announced it, and they were like, haha, fooled you. It's for the entire Cosmere. So it's all of the different magic systems, all the different worlds that the books take place in, and they have character creation for all of that. So I think it's really, really cool. And I think I haven't played it yet. I've seen some people playing through it, but the fan reception has been pretty good. So I'm pretty excited.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to know what else is good to hear?
What?
Some news. You want to do some bullet points?
I mean, yeah, of course I want to see some bullet points.
We'll fire them in here. I'm still trying to work up a good like bullet related like shoot them to me maybe, or like
fire away.
Yeah. God damn it, Landon, that might be perfect. Or like, hey, Landon, you got some news locked and loaded? Or I don't know. We'll figure it out. I do have my bolt action pen just, for the, just, as Kismet. It's like, I'm doing a bullet related thing, bolt action pen. Anyway, speaking of TTRPGs, Games Workshop has released, and get ready for this name, okay? It is The Hobbit Motion Picture Trilogy, colon, Hunt for the Arkenstone, colon, a Middle Earth adventure game. They have announced it. Here is a look at the production stuff. It is Hobbit movie themed, being released by Game Workshop. You either play as Thorin's team, trying to put the Arkenstone back in the Lonely Mountain, or you play as Azog, trying to hunt down the team that is trying to let's go Columbine on this list. I don't think that's the one, Billy, but we'll add it into the rotation. While you're also playing as Azog, trying to hunt the team that's trying to put the Arkenstone back into place. It looks pretty basic. It didn't look like it would be too complicated of a game to figure out. Again, it's a movie-based game for a tabletop game, so I don't expect too much out of it, but we'll see once we get hands-on.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around why base it off of the movie of The Hobbit specifically when you have all of the Middle Earth mythos and everything to go on.
I can't 100% say because nobody commented this like in the article that I read about it, but I would go out on a limb and say it's because they want money.
Yeah, but we're past Hobbit hype by this point.
Are we? I mean, this game will probably sell. It'll at least sell to grandmas trying to find something to buy for their kid or for their grandkid who knows is into some J.R.R. Tolkien related stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely get a whole bunch of people who just want more Lord of the Rings stuff. But this is going to collect, if it's not good, I don't know anything about the game, but if it's not good, it's just going to collect dust on the shelf.
That's true. And not that they'll move every asset that they make. I don't know that they'll sell out. Maybe they will. Maybe the game will revolutionize tabletop gaming and we're just being haters. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it'll probably sell initially pretty well, or at least decently. And then you'll see it on shelves in different stores for a long time at full price. And then you'll get it in like a bargain bin or like at your local Value City or, at a Five Below or, the clearance aisle at Walmart, TJ Maxx, maybe you might see it at a TJ Maxx.
Yeah.
After the fact. I don't think they're going to sell out immediately. I don't think there's going to be that kind of demand on it. Also, the player handbook, as previously mentioned, Dungeons & Dragons is dropping a new player handbook in 2024. It is still 5e, but they've made some rule clarifications. So they are changing the condition of petrified. Previously, when you were petrified, like everything stopped working. You couldn't see or hear. You were basically locked into like a coma. They have now changed the petrified status that you are now fully aware of what is going on around you while not able to move or get out of the way. So that's kind of scary. They've also changed grappling. The grappling previously was an opposed strength or agility check. It is now going to be an unarmed strike where they have to beat your DC plus your strength, beat a DC of 8 plus your strength modifier. And any attacks against the grappled person will now have advantage. I think previously it was on both, but the grappler will not have advantage against them, and just the grapplee going forward in 2024. You played much D&D?
I used to play a lot more back when I had more free time and more people to play with, but I don't anymore. But if I do remember right, I believe some of these changes were brought about because of Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Like the designers for how the rules work in D&D saw how things worked and like shown through Baldur's Gate. We're like, oh, we got to fix that. That doesn't feel quite right.
And yet they still haven't fixed any of the stuff with the Ranger. None of the Ranger class things are being changed for 2024. At least not the big ones, also Funko, who they don't just make cute little curios, they also make board games, has announced that they are releasing House of the Dragon Dark Dealings. This is a deck building game that they actually just dropped it. You build different teams based on the different houses and draw your variable cards that you play against each other. And that has already dropped. It is available now on the GameStop website. It will cost you exactly $24.99 pre-tax and shipping.
Oh, that's actually a lot less than I thought this was going to go for.
Yeah, I would have assumed just based on my knowledge of tabletop games, $50.
Yeah, that's shockingly well priced.
Yeah, that's not terrible. So that's actually, what did I just do? Sorry, I'm trying to shut a thing on my computer. Anyway, so Kickstarter. This is like a small one for like niche comic book fans. Ben says, did you watch John Bernthal learn about D&D and play right there during the podcast with Deborah Ann Wall? Pretty cool to watch him go from having no idea what's going on to being interested in it. Absolutely. I watched that, and it's funny. That's kind of the way I explain D&D to people whenever they're like, I don't know what it is, or I don't know the rules, or I don't know how to play. I'm always like, well, you walk into a dark room and it's like, what do you see? There's like one candle on the wall. What do you see? And then it's like there's a treasure chest against the wall, and on one side there's like some books and a shelf, and there's a key on the table. Like, what do you want to do? And then I just like kind of walk them through like a small scenario. So it was really cool to see that works on even a bigger scale. And I hope John Bernthal gets into it. Like, D&D is experiencing such a great renaissance right now, and it's totally worth it. Like, it's totally deserved. The satanic panic led to this like trashing of D&D, like properties, books, like kids had to stay away from it, all of that kind of stupid shit that happened in the 80s. And like the fact that we're finally like as fans of this property, like building some momentum, and it's like there's so many celebrities playing D&D right now. I hope that it just never stops. I hope this long form storytelling where everybody gets to be a part of the action just continues to grow, for sure.
Yeah.
But also, the Kickstarter for Winds of Numasira is in its final week. It is based on the Dark Horse Comics graphic novel. It has raised $130,000. That is 13 times the initial goal that it started with. And they are going to introduce some new stretch goals if it breaks the 140,000 mark. So now would be the time to get on and if you're interested in it, because they're going to be adding some new stuff this week, and then this is it. So when it's over, you'll have to wait and buy it in store after that. So that is something to get on to. So moving from tabletop gaming into anime news, Trigun Stargaze is in production at Studio Orange. For those of you who are fans of the original Trigun series or watch the newer Trigun series, Trigun Stampede, Stargaze is the sequel to Stampede, basically season 2. It's getting a different name. And this will be the ending of the Stampede storyline for Vash the Stampede and the other characters that were introduced in both the original and in Stampede. The teaser for Blue Exorcist Beyond the Snow dropped yesterday. If you haven't gotten to see it, go check that out, alongside the news that we will get the 4th season this January. So you don't even have to wait a long time. The new season for Blue Exorcist will be out starting early next year. That being said, I haven't watched season 3 yet. Are you a Blue Exorcist fan?
I am not, no.
I'm a big fan of season 1. Season 2 actually jumps back in the storyline a little bit, so like it kind of, you don't get the progression that you got in season 1, but season 3 picks up moving the story forward, and I really do need to catch up on it. Love Blue Exorcist. Let's see. In sad news, Rachel Lillis, the original American voice actor for Misty and Jessie in Pokemon, the beloved children's series that most of you were raised on. Ben, I'm looking at you on this one. Passed away Monday after losing her battle with breast cancer. F in the chat for Rachel Lillis. Our friends at CelebWorks, who we book a lot of our talent for Cape Con and Cape Anime Con, or Cape Anime and Cape Con with, they were very close to Rachel, and our love and support goes out to them, as well as everybody else and her family and friends. Um, the executive producer and director for Blue Eyed Samurai, says they are currently working on season 2 for Netflix. If you didn't watch season 1 of Blue Eyed Samurai, I highly recommend it. It is incredible. Billy Rhodes said Jesse and James are one of my favorite villains. I was sad to read that news. Yeah, it sucks. Cancer sucks. Like full on like fuck cancer. Full send on that. Absolutely. I don't know a single person that hasn't been affected by cancer. And if you are one of those people, that's awesome. Like I hope that never happens in your life. It's the worst. Let's see. That is everything I had in in anime news. Moving on to comic books. So do you know much about the character of Iron Fist, Landon?
I really don't.
You really don't. So Iron Fist is the American son of a very rich investor and business owner. Danny Rand gets lost in a plane crash, finds himself in the city of Kunlun, where he is trained as a martial artist and monk, and eventually goes on to fight a dragon and gain the abilities of the Iron Fist, which is an ability to take chi energy, focus it into his hands, and make them as hard as iron. And then, you can hit things with it or whatever. But he's got various martial arts and energy-based abilities. It is a not so commonly known thing, but there has never been a single Iron Fist to live past the age of 33. So this last week was the 50th anniversary of the Iron Fist character, and Marvel released a 50th anniversary one-shot where in it, Danny Rand, the former Iron Fist, he actually passed the mantle of Iron Fist on to Lin Lee in February of 2022, but Danny being the only Iron Fist to celebrate his 34th birthday. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? And because Marvel's not done kicking Iron Fist while he's down after the terrible live action series we got, immediately following Danny's 34th birthday, the villain Chi Lin shows up and murders him. So happy birthday, Danny Rand. Happy 50 years, Iron Fist. Looking forward to when they resurrect him a few years from now. But
I was genuinely kind of like, oh, yay, that's so nice. And then,
yes, for his 34th birthday, he died. Murdered brutally in physical combat.
Was there any narrative reason for this, or was it just because, hey, it's Iron Fist?
So it's not typical, like other than the fact that no previous Iron Fist lived past 33. It was like somebody just had the idea and they thought it'd be funny, or I don't know necessarily funny, but like just a fun little twist that you're like, oh, he's celebrating his birthday with his friends. Congratulations. It's the 50th anniversary. Like what a nice heartwarming thing. And they ended it by just killing him. So I think it was just subverting expectations and people being kind of like, this is cool. Nothing bad's going to happen here. It's the last page of the comic. Boom, dead. But yeah, I think that was, I think it's cool. I enjoyed it. No, I'm not upset about it. He was like one of the embodiments of like the white savior idea anyway. It took way too long for them to take a primarily Asian culture based character and actually make it an Asian person that had the power. So I'm fine with it. I'm not that upset. In other Marvel news, the new Ultimate Universe has unveiled a first look at the new Ultimate Black Cat. So those of you who know anything about Black Cat, the traditionally only big difference between Black Cat and Catwoman is that Black Cat has white hair. In the new Ultimate comic line, they are unveiling a new Felicia Hardy, who is not that. She actually looks closer to the Halle Berry Catwoman, if I had to compare it to something. But that is what we are getting in the new Ultimates line. I'm not upset about it. It's just an observation. I think that It is very interesting that after murdering the entire Ultimate Universe and then merging the couple of good characters it had into the main main 616, they are now relaunching the Ultimate line and then reintroducing new characters. And there's a new Ultimates team and a new Spider-Man and a new Black Cat, and we're just getting the Ultimates all over again. So it'll be interesting to see how long it takes them to tank this universe like they did the last one. Am I being a hater? Was that hateful? It seemed negative. I'm sorry, everyone. If I was taking that too negative, I apologize.
I mean, all comic lines end eventually, so
that's true. He's not wrong. So there is currently being written by Jonathan Hickman and art by Asad Ribic. Aliens versus Avengers is a new comic starting soon. They are previewing promotional imagery, and yes, right there we have the one thing that everybody cares about out of the storyline, and that is Hulk versus a Xenomorph. I don't know the plot of the comic beyond the fact that the aliens have come to a near future 616. This is happening in the main 616 storyline, just a little ahead of the current timeline. Ahead of the current timeline, and the main 616 Avengers will be facing off against the Xenomorphs from the Alien movie universe. So that'll be interesting to see how that all goes down. Billy said, do they end or do they just start over? It's mostly relaunches. Almost always a relaunch. But really, honestly, like as far as like main continuity with the big two, DC and Marvel, there's just one DC timeline. And there's just one Marvel timeline. Ben says, I'm allowed to dislike things. Thank you. Thank you. I needed that kind of support in my life. Billy says he's all for Team Xeno. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get like a mass slaughter or alienization of the main 616 heroes. So it'll be... I'm looking forward to reading it and seeing where that all goes.
I'm not gonna lie, I would love like a mass Xenoization and have it end up something like a Marvel's zombie situation, where you just see different versions of the Xenomorph merge with different Avengers.
Yeah. If they're doing that, I'm imagining since it's main 616, if they're doing that, the aliens are going to burst out of the chest of characters that can survive it. So like, I immediately want to say Wolverine, but that's not possible. Like a Xenomorph baby could not burst through Wolverine's chest. It's not going to be able to shatter adamantium on its way out, you know?
That would be a funny joke, though.
Yes. It'd have to go out his abdomen instead of his chest. But like Hulk could birth like a series of Xenomorphs and be fine. Deadpool could have one a day or more and be fine. So I guess the question is like, are we going to see that happen with main Marvel characters? Captain America is another one. A lot of people don't think about Captain America when they think healing factors, but Captain America also has a healing factor. Not as strong as Wolverine's, but it's better than the average person. So does Spider-Man.
If it were one of them, it'd be something like they're out for a while, but they'll survive. Barely, but they'll survive.
Yeah, like Hulk would walk it off pretty quick. He'd just be like, rub some dirt in and, you know, then crush the damn thing. But no, yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that all goes down. And then also in Immortal Hulk, in that comic line, there was a character that had acid spit that Hulk had to deal with. So this is even new for him. You know, he's been through this before. So it'll be, I don't know. I'm looking forward to reading it. In the X-Men from the Ashes storyline, so following the death of the Krakoa era, they're launching all the X titles again. It's a whole new universe, or well, not whole new universe, but it's a whole new status quo for the X-Men. They have now introduced a new X-Factor team. Now, X-Factor traditionally, Havoc, Cyclops' brother, is the leader. But in this team, Warren Worthington III, better known as Angel, is the leader of the team. And they are huge, like, social media stars. It's like the big thing. They're like the government-owned X-Men team. They're going to be working against the X-Men, basically. And in the first issue, the team goes up against the the team kind of bungles their first mission, and some of the characters die and some of them get severely injured. And while they're down, the government just replaces them with other mutants and sends the team back out. So in a very Suicide Squad angle for X Factor, it's going to have a revolving cast of superhero mutants on the team. So they're taking a page out of the Suicide Squad's book for this new X Factor series.
That sounds pretty interesting. Is there, you said it was basically owned by the government. Is there any
Yes.
sort of coercion like with the Suicide Squad, or is it really just...
No, so they are just a government sanctioned X-Men team, unlike the current X-Men team, who are like everybody fears and hates mutants again, and the most people are after them, and it's back to the normal like people hunting mutants, and it's totally okay, and the government kind of doesn't know what to do. But this is a government sanctioned team where it's like, look, some mutants are good. And so there should be a body count and a rotating team with this X Factor team going forward. We'll see how many issues that lasts, though. In DC Comics news, oh wait, I'm still on Marvel actually. They just released a preview for the new West Coast Avengers team. This is a team led by Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Rhodey, War Machine. And one of the members of this team that nobody expected is that Ultron is on the team. Ultron, historically an evil robot, is getting his chance at redemption, and he is going to be an Avenger in this new storyline.
Okay, so this is like post Ultron already having done bad stuff, right?
Yes. Very much post. And Ultron, like, when you're thinking of like the MCU, Ultron's been in one movie. He came and went. But Ultron has been a recurring villain since he was introduced in the 70s, created by Hank Pym. And he has been a foil to the Avengers for a very long time. And so the fact that this time around, they're like, Ultron's back and he's a good guy. It'll be... I don't know how long he'll stay good, or if that'll be a new thing where you just have a good Ultron kicking around. So,
yeah, I mean, it may end up as a... what's the like future universe Brainiac like?
Brainiac 5.
Brainiac 5. That's
Yes.
like a good version of Brainiac.
Yeah, the only thing that's different in that is that Brainiac, the character Brainiac from the Superman comics is actually a Kaluan. He's actually a race of people. Like there's more of them. And Brainiac 5 in the Legion of Superheroes is actually just like his great grandson.
Yeah.
Christopher Brown said, I don't know how to feel about Ultron being good. Right. And it's I think the question isn't like, is he good or is he bad? It's like, how long is it going to take him to turn on the West Coast Avengers? That being said, it's like we've seen this in a couple other things. Like Iron Lad was the was like a good guy for a while, and it turned out he was just a younger version of Kang. And it's hard to think of like if we're getting a good Ultron, right? Aren't we basically just getting Vision? So I don't know. We'll see how it all goes down over time. And that is the art on that is being done by Danny Kim, and the writer is Jerry Duggan. In DC comic news, on the other side of the aisle there, DC Comics is launching a new series called Black Canary Best of the Best. The series will feature Black Canary 2, Dinah Lance, fighting against Lady Shiva to crown the title of DC's most formidable hand-to-hand combatant. This is a title that has previously been held by Black Canary at one point. Also Green Arrow, Oliver Queen. Batman has held it a few times. Lady Shiva has held it a few times. I guess she regained her title at some point in DC Comics. I don't remember when that happened. But now Black Canary has decided that it's time to throw down and prove that she is the baddest hand-to-hand combatant in the entire DC universe. She's going to be leaning on past champions, Batman, Wildcat, probably her ex-husband Oliver Queen, as well as her mother, the original Black Canary, for advice and training through the series. So it'll be interesting to see how that all goes down. That is the art is by Ryan Sook, and the story is going to be written by Tom King. The first issue drops November 27th. Over at IDW, They have recently relaunched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with a brand new #1, introducing some new characters. It actually follows the Last Ronin storyline, where the Ninja Turtles are actually the like children of Donatello or the grandchildren of Donatello. I need to catch up on that. But they are also introducing a new Night Watcher. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Night Watcher, this is typically the alter ego of Raphael. It is a Batman type character that he plays whenever he goes out solo and fights crime without the rest of his brothers. But in this, it is being the role is being taken on by a new character. I won't spoil that for you, but it's one of the new Ninja Turtles. But yeah, check that out. It is currently, I don't think it's dropped yet, but it's dropping soon. Written by Juni Ba, and the art is by Pharaoh Pei. Moving on to television, something that was created by kind of the Avatar crew, the Avatar, Avatar: The Last Airbender animated team. Dragon Prince season 7 trailer dropped, and along with the trailer, they announced that it will be releasing on Netflix December 19th. I'm very behind on Dragon Prince. Have you ever watched it?
I have not. It's been one of those things that's been on my list for a long time. A lot of people tell me it's good, but I just haven't gotten around to it.
I think season 3 is the last season that I watched, but I always enjoy the show. I just need to get back around to watching it. But if you haven't had a chance, check it out. Season 7 coming December 19th. In more bad news, Paramount TV is closing. They are closing the studio following the announcement of their merger with Skydance, another film and entertainment company. And they, following the Skydance merger, they had a 15% layoff of staff, which was the first sign that things are going to go not so well for them. But they are officially closing the studio now. All properties currently in development going forward will be produced by CBS Studios in the interim.
Okay, so it's not like all projects are getting scrapped.
No, yeah. So there's anything not currently in production is being shelved. They're not going forward with it, and anything currently in production is going. It will be produced by CBS Studios. That does also include the Star Trek properties, Billy. They will be going further on with CBS Studios. So it's really just like a reshuffling. And again, they cut a lot. They cut 15% of their workforce out. So I imagine it's going to slow things down a little bit with what's currently in production, considering that the CBS Studios already has its own stuff on its plate. So just look for that to maybe put some move some premiere dates further on. And in some good news, speaking of Pokemon stuff earlier, Daniel RPK, per his social media accounts, is confirming that Netflix is moving forward with their live action Pokemon series. So for all of you who are fans of the live action One Piece series and have hope that they can continue to make less than dog shit live action versions of things you already love, they are apparently moving forward. Netflix has not confirmed this. The last thing we heard out of them was when the initial project dropped in 2021, but apparently they are taking the character of Red from the original Pokemon game and telling a live action story about him. Now, if you a Pokemon fan?
Oh, yes.
So Red is the character from the first Pokemon game that Ash is based off of. He was later introduced into the cartoon as well. But he is going to be the main character of the live action Pokemon series.
Well, Red has appeared throughout the Pokemon games as well as like an optional trainer you can fight. And each and every time he has been silent, just like he has in the original game, does not speak. So I wonder what they're going to do with him in the show. Are they going to make him a silent protagonist as well and have everybody sort of act and behave around him, similar to certain episodes, or not certain episodes, the entire series of Primal? Have you seen Primal?
Nope.
It's Genndy Tartakovsky's show. It's really good. There's zero dialogue in it.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't know why I said no. Honestly, yes, I have seen Primal. I know what you're talking about. I take it back.
Okay. But I
It's
wonder.
very much Samurai Jack art style. I mean, it's in that Gendy Tartakovsky art style. Yes, I enjoy Primal.
Yes, I wonder if they might be willing to do something like that, or if they're going to have him talk and interact with everything. Like,
well, considering it's live action, I assume they're going to cast an actor. He's going to have to play. But on the off chance that it's Disney live action style and it's just CGI but like really realistic looking, maybe they can get Ryan Reynolds to play Red, and he's like talking a mile a minute, just completely flip it on his head.
honestly, it would be very funny if Ryan Reynolds decided for his next role to just go completely silent and just try to do like physical comedy and acting and everything, and just
Yeah, that would be crazy. I mean, considering he's already been Pikachu, I don't think it's a terrible move. He's already in the IP. There's already, a Ryan Reynolds Pokemon universe character. It'd be like his transition from being in Blade 3 to being in X-Men Origins to then being our on-screen Deadpool. Anyway, so not being confirmed by Netflix, but in other Netflix news, the Ghostbuster animated Netflix series has been greenlit. This is by the same people who have brought us the last 2 live action movies, and it will be tied to that universe. Nobody's sure where or when it's going to be set in the timeline or what we're going to be doing. No release date has been given, but they are working on it.
I just hope they make it fun.
Yeah.
That's all I'm hoping for with a Ghostbusters movie, is that they, or not movie, show, that they just make it fun.
Do you remember? I shouldn't say remember because I know you don't remember. It's definitely before you were born.
You're talking about the real Ghostbusters?
So yes, there was the Hanna-Barbera Ghostbusters cartoon where it was not your movie Ghostbusters. It had nothing to do with that IP or property. They just got in ahead of the Ghostbusters movies and made their own cartoon. And then they later followed it with a Ghostbusters cartoon based on the series called The Real Ghostbusters that was like, fuck you guys, we had this first. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if they call this like the real Ghostbusters, or like the even realer Ghostbusters, or more Ghostbusters, or I don't know. Taglines kind of sell themselves, right?
Ghostbusters, busting even more.
Ghostbusters. Sorry, I didn't mean to get that on you. Billy said, "Is that the one with the goth chick?" Yes, and God, it has been so long since I've watched that. They have a dog, right? Or they have a ghost that's with them.
Slimer's like their friend.
Not the real Ghostbusters, the Hanna-Barbera one.
Oh, I don't know shit about the Hanna-Barbera one.
The other Ghostbusters, where they were like, we're just gonna slip in here, call this Ghostbusters. Anyway, in movie news, James Gunn says Superman won't suffer from reshoots because he doesn't start shooting until he has a full script. This is Ben says Ghostbusters busting makes you feel bad. Yes, always after the fact. You're like, ooh, what have I done?
Depends how many times you do it.
Jesus is watching you. But anyway, in flying in the face of recent reports that Marvel never has a full script when they shoot a movie, and nobody knows what's going on when the films are made. James Gunn is like, I always make sure I have a full script before I make a movie, and that's why we won't be doing reshoots on the Superman movie. So little shade being cast at his previous films with Marvel, but I think that if James Gunn puts out like the greatest Superman film we've ever seen, like he has a right to be arrogant and like casting shade at other people. But I think until that happens, he needs to just be like, I'm going to do a good one, guys.
I know what I'm doing. I have a plan.
Yeah. If you're like, no, I know how to shoot a movie. I'm not an idiot. And then you put out like the worst Superman movie ever seen. You're going to look real stupid.
I think it's going to be good.
I think it's going to be okay. I'm reserving judgment. I hope that I'm pleasantly surprised. I feel like it's going to be like, yeah, that was a Superman movie. We'll see. I may be wrong, and if I am, I'll admit it. I promise. I'll just be like, shit, man, that was good. Did not see that coming. Bustin' makes you feel good. Disneyland Hong Kong is getting 2 new rides based on Tom Holland's Spider-Man. They are expanding the Avengers campus here in the United States with new rides, including the Stark Expo themed rides. But in Hong Kong, they are adding 2 new Spider-Man rides, both taking place at the Stark Expo. They're expanding the Avengers campus. And one of them is going to be where you go on a ride with Spider-Man where he gets you into trouble and then has to get you out of it, which is pretty much every Spider-Man story ever.
All right.
But I'm excited. I've always wanted to go to Hong Kong, and now I have another reason.
Have they already had previous Spider-Man rides installed into the park?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, because you mentioned that they're doing 2 right off the bat, so I
Right.
didn't know if it was.
So prior to the MCU's success, Universal had the rights to these rides. And so if you go to Universal Studios Hollywood and Universal Studios Florida, they currently have rides based on the animated series of like X-Men, Fantastic Four, The Incredible Hulk. Like there's a comic book area in both those parks where they do have like an X-Men or Spider-Man the animated series themed ride that's really incredible. Like it's a lot of fun. I remember seeing it advertised whenever I was a kid, and they're still running it. It's a 3D ride where you go through a whole experience where like Spider-Man web swings you in like what is basically like a fantastic car around this park and like fights off Doc Ock and the Green Goblin and Hydro Man. Like you fight against the Sinister Six on the ride, and it's a lot of fun. But that all predates the MCU and them actually putting some money into trying to get these characters like bigger, better stuff. So this is the first instance where they're creating Spider-Man themed theme park rides that are owned by Disney parks.
All right, that's neat. I imagine that I have no idea about how rights work with theme park rides. But considering Disney's biggest thing is Disneyland and Disney World, I imagine they plug up any holes whenever it comes to any loopholes around those types of rides.
I know that they are actively doing everything they can to get Spider-Man back from Sony. Like really, really putting in a lot of effort. Don't be shocked if Disney just buys Sony eventually. Just to get Spider-Man back, because they're losing money hand over fist with the rights issues they're having trying to get Spider-Man IP and merch and properties and still having Sony holding all of the rights to the character. Yeah. It's been a big problem, and Disney has the money to just solve this by just purchasing that part of the company that owns it. So we'll see. As long as Sony is willing to like play ball and give Disney the rights whenever they want it and not fight them too much, I imagine that it won't be an issue. But as soon as the first time they say like, nah, we're not giving that to you, I fully expect like some kind of deal to go down or a lawsuit, which, we'll be talking about it here in a minute, but Sony's doing everything they can to continue making films based on the Spider-Man IP so that they can hold on to the rights. Mm-hmm. So the future's crazy right now, guys. It's just nuts. And in our final piece of news for bullet points, at least for me, in the final piece of cinema news, Twisters has released fully on digital yesterday. So you can go to your major streaming service and rent or buy Twisters to watch at home. So I'm sad that Fox Digital Media is not in the chat tonight because I threw that piece of news in there for him. But I'm excited. I can't wait till I can stream it and check it out. Yes, Ben, we will be getting into the Craven trailer here in just a minute. Landon, what news did you have on the gaming side?
All right. A couple of pieces of gaming news. This is more of a movie thing than games, but the Borderlands movie has bombed with only making 8.8 million so far over the weekend. However, there's a little bit of controversy with the movie now. The person who rigged Claptrap, as well as the modeler, are claiming that they haven't been credited in the movie. And on the IMDb page, the person who claims to have rigged Claptrap is not listed. Other people are, but not them.
Is there any like news as to like why that might have happened? Have they said like there was some fallout, or they pissed somebody off, or they're just not crediting them?
As of right now, nobody's really spoken about what the reason might be. They're just straight up not credited.
Is that all the Borderlands news you had?
That's all I had on Borderlands, but I got one more piece.
Well, I know that they are also saying that despite the fact that the movie has bombed completely, they're still moving forward with Borderlands 4, progressing the storyline from the end of Borderlands 3.
Well, I mean, just because the movie bombs doesn't mean the games don't
true.
have to stop.
That's true. Although the ending of Borderlands 3 is kind of dumb too, but that's just me.
Yeah, I've heard it was disappointing. I haven't played any of 3.
Yeah, it's kind of nonsensical, but the whole game is, but it's still fun to play.
Alrighty. And my second piece of news, Warner Bros. Discovery's gaming section has seen a decrease of 41% of profits compared to this time last year.
Really?
Now, every time I see everything I've seen about this, it talks about how it's because of like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League has really tanked things. And like, it's not great, I'm not going to lie. But this time last year was when Hogwarts Legacy released. So you're comparing their like record-breaking, huge high point,
the highest selling video game of all time.
Yeah, to their low point.
Yeah.
So it's gonna look worse than what it actually is.
I will say, pairing the news of Borderlands the movie and Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League together is perfect, because Borderlands ripped off the Guardians of the Galaxy movies with none of the heart or feeling, and then Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, like 1-to-1 ripped off the Guardians of the Galaxy video game and also didn't do well.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, I would say like when you sell the number 1 selling video game of all time in 1 year and then compare your next year against it, yeah, of course your sales are not going to look as good.
Even if you had released a good game, a decent game, it's not going to look good compared to your peak.
That would be like the Marvel Studios comparing the release of Endgame against like every movie they've released since and being like, yeah, we're just not doing what we were doing last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's everything I have in news.
That is it. All right. Thank you for joining us for Bullet Points. Landon, fire away. Sorry, guys. I was in the middle of a drum solo. Landon, we had a new trailer drop yesterday, I believe, for Craven the Hunter.
Yes.
So still not excited about this movie, but apparently Sony has just been like, after they, yes, Columbine out. But after the failure of Madam Web, Sony was like, we got to do something right. Let's fix this movie. And they took it back and they moved the release date to December for it's getting a Christmas release date. And they reshot a bunch of scenes and completely reshot the movie, or completely reworked the movie to like change the plot. And they're really, really, really hoping, please, guys, please, could you please, just for the sake of Sony, pretty please, like this movie. And so even though they completely flipped Craven's origin on its head in the original ideas for the movie, apparently they have just changed all of that. And we may just be getting an evil big game hunting version of Craven with a rated R film where it's just before he meets Spider-Man. So we'll see. Not super optimistic about it. This hasn't traditionally gone well for Sony, but maybe it's going to be awesome. But the cool thing about this trailer is that everybody's got animal-based powers. Craven has the blood of a lion, which gives him like some better strength and speed and stuff. He's doing some crazy stuff out there. But another animal-based Spider-Man villain is being included in this movie, and it's the Rhino. And in this first look of it, that's what he's going to look like. Now, those of you who are fans of the original Spider-Man comics or the animated series know that Rhino basically is a dude in a rhino hide costume. He's just a big Russian dude. and he's just like running around destroying stuff. And so they did that a little bit. Story Love said, aren't they trying to do a Sinister Six thing? I'll get back to that in a second. But so because you can't just be like, here's a cool rhino costume, go beat somebody up in a superhero movie. Instead, he's going to get like a rhino based serum or rhino blood or something that's going to turn his skin into a rhino hide. But like traditionally, rhino has a normal face. He's going to have a rhino hide face as well. So it looks like he just went somewhere and they sprayed him down with like rhino bed liner. So we'll see how that all goes down. Yes, Story Love, they were initially Sony's plan was to introduce a movie. It followed The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, where they were going to introduce all of the Sinister Six in a solo film without Spider-Man involved at all, and then do another film where they meet Spider-Man and they all fight. And then that didn't work out. And then they decided that since Marvel is making all the Spider-Man movies, that they would still take the Spider-Man villain characters they have and try to make solo films out of all of them in like an attempt to, as I was saying previously, in an attempt to hold on to the movie rights for the Spider-Man characters. But that has gone poorly as well, because we have Morbius, which did not do well, and then we have Madam Web, which is like comically bad and did not do well. And so now they're really, 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 really hoping that if they get just close enough to making a solo film about an actual villain that actually does well, people will stop making fun of them for the terrible Spider-Man movies they put out. So we'll see. We also have Venom: The Last Dance coming out in next year, which is supposed to just be like a really good Venom movie, which maybe we'll finally get one of those too. I'm not holding my breath for it. I think it'll be another like total fucking mess the way that Venom 2 was, but maybe it'll be good. I like Tom Hardy, so I'm hoping for the best that we get a good version of Tom Hardy's Venom. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Again, I'm not holding my breath, but it is really exciting to see an almost comic accurate Rhino is going to appear in this movie as one of the big villains. And we'll see. We'll see where that goes from there. But other than that, there's not a huge change to the movie. It's rated R. There's going to be a lot of blood and like violence and stabbing and shooting. And we'll see. It might be all right.
I'm going to be honest. I have no fucking clue.
Okay. Yeah. Landon has no frame of reference. Totally get it.
Nah, I know Craven. I know Rhino. Sony, how hard is it to make a good movie with all the characters you got?
The thing that drives me nuts is that there's nothing keeping them from making new Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. They just can't use Tom Holland's Spider-Man without Marvel's permission. They can make another Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie with all these characters and the IP that they're trying to use to keep the licensing, and we could just have two universes of Spider-Man movies being made, which is fine. I'd love that.
I guess they just don't want to risk giving anything to Disney whatsoever. Like, I don't think anybody who cares about Spider-Man is going to see the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and be like, "Oh man, this makes me want to watch the Disney Spider-Man more."
It's nonsensical because we're also getting another Beyond the Spider-Verse movie, which is Sony making a Spider-Man film starring Miles Morales. And we could get live action Miles Morales instead of live action Peter Parker and get the same thing. Like, there's really no reason they cannot be making Spider-Man films alongside the MCU right now.
It really just feels like they started out with this plan, and despite it not working, of like doing different films with all these side characters and villains, that they just don't want to change course.
Yeah, it's funny because we're talking about this again for a second week in a row, but you could literally title the book about this period in Sony superhero films, Sunk Cost Fallacy, the Sony Plan. Yeah, because that's what we're looking at here. They were just like, well, we already have all the scripts written and we've got like directors and producers in place. So like, we're going to make the movies. Like, we're already this far along. No, just stop. Just quit it. We're gonna have to wait like 20 years for all of these characters to show up in an MCU film where they finally tie the universes together, a la Deadpool. You know?
Just do something different.
Yeah, just quit. Quit while you're ahead.
Ahead?
Quit.
The fuck you mean ahead?
Jesus Christ. The second I said it, I heard it. And Spaceboy said there's also a million other spider people they could make movies for. There's like 6 Spider-Womans they could use. They could also do the M2 storyline and just introduce an adult Peter Parker and his kids and tell Mayday Parker's storyline, and people would love that. Like, we could get Spider-Girl instead.
They can do one-shots of just every different universe Spider-Man if they wanted to.
Give us Ninja Spider-Man. Just tell that story in a live action. I think that would be cool too. Go to the 1692 storyline. You've got a lot of Spider-Man options. So I don't know, man. Figure it out, Sony. Fucking figure it out. How are your games about Spider-Man so good and your movies featuring Spider-Man IP so terrible?
I guess different executives doing different coke.
People that give a shit versus people that don't, is the big thing there. We also got a trailer for Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It is a Game of Thrones spinoff. Release the porno cut of Madam Web if they wanted. Yeah, Billy. I don't know that exists, but somebody will make it. Rule 34, you know. But anyway, so they released a teaser trailer for Night of the Seven Kingdoms. If you're not familiar with this is a story that takes place roughly 100 years before the main Game of Thrones storyline. It features a lot of Targaryens doing a lot of cool stuff. And it also features the Hedge Knight, Duncan the Tall. The only book in that series that I have read is the Hedge Knight. So it's the first story in that. So I need to do a little catch up on the character. But George R.R. Martin is not done writing stories about this character and plans to continue his story. So, of course, HBO is making a series about it now. You know? It's like he hasn't finished Winds of Winter yet, and you've already finished that in live. And now you have about 3 seasons worth of television you can make about Duncan the Tall. And then you're going to be waiting on George R.R. Martin to finish those stories. So get right in there, HBO. Please tell those stories ahead of the finished books.
This really feels like the whole finished script conversation from earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wait until it's done.
Right. Yes. But at the same time, it's like they only have 2 seasons of House of the Dragon left to make, and then that's over. And then they scrapped the Jon Snow solo series that takes place after the end of Song of Ice and Fire. So now they're looking for something else to make with the Game of Thrones IP. And they want to use the stories of Duncan the Tall, which is Brienne of Tarth's ancestor. That's where she gets her height. He also marries a super tall lady, and they have kids. And those kids eventually lead to Brienne of Tarth from the Song of Ice and Fire books and the Game of Thrones television series. But like they have about 3 seasons worth of stuff to work off of for now. So you figure if they do like House of the Dragon and they put out 1 season every 2 years, we have about 6 years in there of either George R.R. Martin finally writing some more story or him dying. And guess who's in line to finish Game of Thrones in case George R.R. Martin dies?
I have no clue.
That's right. It's Brandon Sanderson, writer of the Stormlight Archive, the Cosmere series, and the Mistborn books, who also finished The Wheel of Time for Robert Jordan after he died. And let me tell you that if George R.R. Martin dies next year, we're going to have 3 Game of Thrones books the following year written by Brandon Sanderson, because that's how fast he writes. And it's going to be awesome. So I'm not hoping for George R.R. Martin to die. I'm hoping for him to finish these stories before he dies. But on the off chance that he doesn't make it, the future's looking pretty good for the Game of Thrones universe.
You're in good hands.
Yes. Brandon Sanderson is an incredible writer. If you haven't checked him out, go check him out. You will not regret it. Totally worthwhile. It is not Chuck Tingle, Billy, but I bet he's third in line. I bet he is third in line to finish this book series. It's probably Brandon Sanderson, and then like Stephen King, and then Chuck Tingle right after that. Yeah. So we'll see. But anyway, so Knight of the Seven Kingdoms comes out. I saw a possible tie from Duncan the Tall to Hodor. I don't know if that's just TikTok rumors, though. I don't think that's official in the Song of Ice and Fire universe. That doesn't mean it's not. Lots of people get down with lots of people in the Game of Thrones universe. So Hodor was a big dude and can't say hold door repeatedly. I feel like that's one of those things where you like say a word so many times it loses all meaning. And he was like, hold door, hold door, hold door, hold door, hold door, Hodor, Hodor, Hodor? Is the word Hodor?
Sure.
Landon doesn't know. But anyway, so maybe they're cousins. But yeah. And then also we had, and please, I hope my computer's not dead because I don't remember the list. We had D23 last week, and they dropped a bunch of new stuff, and I wanted to talk about it, but I cannot remember everything, so I'm going to go off of a list from a website. Billy Rhodes said, excuse me, I mean Dr. Chuck Tingle, 2-time Hugo Award nominee. Still no. Probably not. So anyway, we got an update on Ironheart, some new footage. The characters are all still on board. I guess they've changed the armor. I know we get like a rough early armor edition in the movie, so we'll see how that all goes down. We got some new footage of Agatha all along, as well as a new trailer showing kind of more of the theme of the movie. It seems like she's going to start out with a bunch of witches going on this journey with her to get her powers back, and they're all going to die like one at a time until it's just Billy, Scarlet Witch's son, and Agatha left over, and then the Aubrey Plaza character, who I'm pretty sure, and you can fact check me later, Landon, is going to end up being Mephisto, and will probably turn into the Sacha Baron Cohen version of the character by the end of the series.
You know, you've been saying Mephisto a lot. You've been hoping for Mephisto a lot. Eventually, you're going to get it right.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's only so many times you could say Mephisto before it ends up being Mephisto.
That's true. If I just keep saying Mephisto, eventually I'm going to be right. And that's the hope. And Omega Red. That's Ben's hope. Ben has been eagerly anticipating Omega Red showing up in anything MCU related eventually, and wash, rinse, repeat. We just keep on doing it. Daredevil Born Again got a first look. We got a better look at John Bernthal coming back as the Punisher. White Tiger, the new, he's basically like a Black Panther analog, but White Tiger, obviously, and he's got a South American origin as opposed to an African origin. And there are stills of a Punisher-like character killing him that were already released, so probably not long for the series, or at least White Tiger's not making it to the end of the series in Daredevil Born Again. So we'll see how that goes down. Season 2 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians introduced some new characters. It's based on the Sea of Monsters storyline. I'm not a big fan of that. I really need to watch the series. Did you read the books?
I read all the books.
Yeah, I have not.
The books were really good. At least they were whenever I read them back in like 3rd through 6th grade, something like that.
I might have to check them out eventually if I ever decide I want to watch some young or read some young adult novels. We got a first look at Tron Ares showing Evan Peters, Jared Leto, and Greta Lee in character. And the score is being done by Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails fame. So he will be scoring the new Tron movie. I haven't seen a bad Tron film yet. I still don't think I know what the hell they're doing with them, but that's not a bad thing. I think they're just kind of like playing in the universe, and that's fine with me. And also we saw Jeff Bridges back for this next Tron film, a much older Jeff Bridges. I'm sure he took a lot of pictures during the show. We also got some new Disney properties. We got a trailer for the Skeleton Crew, which looks really cool. It's got a very like Steven Spielberg and Goonies and ET vibe. It starts out with a bunch of kids in a suburb in space who discover an old Jedi temple and a spaceship, and they take off on this fun adventure. It's just gonna be a bunch of teenagers doing shit that you really don't want your teenagers doing, a la the Goonies and Stranger Things. And I'm kind of excited. I think it's a fresh idea for the Star Wars universe, whereas everybody is like just subservient to the chosen one of the Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker lineage. We're actually just getting an adventure that takes place in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, where kids have access to spaceships and stuff.
Yeah, this is something like tangential to the Jedi and Sith conflict. It's not necessarily driven by it as much.
Yes, and I believe it takes place in the more modern Star Wars universe around episodes 7, 8, and 9. And the kids are just living in this post what I wanted to say Enterprise, in the post Empire world, and they're going to go on a Jedi quest adventure. And Jude Law's character, who's roughly the same age as like Din Djarin and Luke Skywalker, he might be a little bit older. Well, no, he'd definitely be a lot younger than Luke. Anyway, he's some sort of Force sensitive, but it never really establishes in the trailer what he is. So that'll be interesting, and I'm looking forward to it, because anytime I get more Star Wars, I'm excited, even if it's not good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ki-Hu Kwan has joined the cast of Zootopia 2 to voice Gary, who is a snake, and Zoe Saldana is going to join as the main character's aunt. Frozen 3 concept art was shown. Who's not waiting for Frozen 3? Frozen 2 was just so good. And Pixar talked about their new feature film, Hoppers. I don't know much about that. Inside Out film franchise is going to expand into a television series. Did you know anything about Hoppers?
I know nothing about Hoppers.
Okay, fantastic. Moana 2 was introduced. I think that's all of the important stuff from D23. But yeah, so there was all of that. Billy Rhodes said they wish post Enterprise. Yeah, I don't want anything to be post Enterprise. There's always a new one, right? You don't want to be in a universe where they're not still making Starship Enterprises.
If it's post Enterprise, something has gone very wrong.
Yeah. That's not the timeline you want to be in. Christopher Brown said, I'm tired of all the 3rd, 4th, and 5th movies. I completely agree. The grinding of just sequel after sequel after sequel while foregoing original ideas it's draining. It is honestly draining.
I'm always a person that feels like a movie franchise overstays its welcome after the 3rd movie.
Well, I'm also like, I'm from the generation, and I think many of us are, and I think weirdly, like, you and I both fall into this, Landon, but I'm of the mindset where when you get a Disney sequel, it's a direct to video, and you don't feel like it really impacted the original storyline at all. And that if they wanted to, they could come back and change all of that with a new story, but like, it's not that big of a deal. Like the original was awesome and like theatrical and incredible, and it changed the genre or whatever. And then you get like the sequel, and it was like a direct to video, and it was like for kids who were like, I loved The Lion King. I want more Lion King. And it's like, here's a direct to video where like, this is what happened to their kids. And that's great. Yeah, I think that was great. I think that was a great way to handle that kind of stuff. But when it's like, here's Moana, and she went on an adventure, and this is what the story's about. Here's Moana 2. Here's another big movie about more of that story. No. Give me a new Disney property.
Well, I'm not exactly up to date with everything Disney does, but I do know that for a decent chunk of their movies, they do have like TV show tie-ins still, normally on their on Disney Plus, sometimes still airing on the actual channel,
but not to the level that they used to. Like Buzz Lightyear Star Command is incredible and doesn't touch the Toy Story IP at all. It takes place inside the TV universe of Buzz Lightyear going on an adventure, and Woody and all of the other Toy Story characters aren't involved in that. You know, like they used to do good ideas like that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the Aladdin show very fondly myself.
Yes. Yeah, but alongside the Aladdin television show, which actually, if I remember correctly, takes place following the first movie. They then also released 3 more direct-to-video movies that don't touch the TV series.
Yeah, they had Jafar's Revenge, which was like the immediate sequel, and
Yes.
then they had King of Thieves, which is also an excellent film.
Is it King of Thieves? Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And evil Jafar Genie is like one of the coolest designs of all time. He's so cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
I love that character. Scar is my favorite Disney villain. Nobody asked, but just so you know, Scar from The Lion King is my favorite Disney villain. Just love him. It's Jeremy Irons did such a great job voicing him. Be Prepared, probably one of my favorite Disney songs of all time. Love that character. But yeah, totally agree. They don't have to keep making big release sequels to previous Disney properties. Billy Rhodes said the Hercules show, Timon and Pumbaa show, the Little Mermaid show. And for those of you who don't know, we have the voice of young Hercules from the Hercules movie, Josh Keaton, coming to Cape Con November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. He's also the voice of the Spectacular Spider-Man from that animated series and the voice of Steve Rogers in What If, and Shiro from Voltron Legendary Defenders, as well as Iron Man, Tony Stark from Midnight Suns, the video game. But anyway, he will be here signing autographs and meeting and greeting and talking to everyone November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Great guy. Looking forward to meet him. But yeah, so that is all of our D23 news. Speaking of old things that should have just stayed the way they were, on the hit list this week, we're talking about retro games. Welcome to the hit list. This week, we are listing our 5 favorite retro video games. Now, as I said last week, this can be retro-themed video games, actual retro games, or just like games that to you seem retro because, you know, I'm old and what's retro to me or what's new to me is retro to some of you, Landon. But we can kick the list off this week, starting with Landon's number 5.
All right. So my number 5 is something that was very dear to me as a child because it was one of 2 games I had for the Nintendo 64 all throughout my childhood.
I bought the Nintendo 64 the second it released. And I still have it.
I wasn't alive. And that is Mario Kart 64.
I will kick your ass at this game. I am so good at this game.
I don't doubt that. I haven't played this in years, but I have amazing fond memories of this.
Yeah. I got the muscle memory, man. Like if I get on to Mario Kart 64, it's like no time has passed.
I have no idea. I could get on it and then all of a sudden the memories flood back. But also I was like 5 at the time. So I'll have the muscle memory of a 5-year-old and you could still probably beat me, actually.
I was 14 when this game released. I was making my own money and my brother worked at Kmart and it released and so they like shipped it in. They hadn't released it. And so they like cut the plastic and like were unstacking them and getting them ready for everybody that had like, put them on layaway or whatever, and like people were lining up to buy it when it released, and he took one and put it under something until his shift ended, and then when he got off work he went back and got it, walked it in front, bought it, and then brought it home to me. So I had it the night it released, and then I had it for like a week and then I failed my math class and my parents grounded me from it and I lost it for 3 months.
Damn.
True story.
Nintendo just rocked your math brain.
Yeah.
My Nintendo 64 was technically my older sister's.
Yeah.
But by the time I was like 5, she wasn't playing with it anymore. She's like 8 years older than me. And like, I played that just a ton. It was in between that and my number 4 spot, which I'm not going to spoil yet.
Yeah.
And those were the games I played to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, for Mario Kart 64, I have every shortcut memorized. I have every little jump you can do, like Rainbow Road, like jumping from one part of the Rainbow Road down to another part of the Rainbow Road to just kick everybody's ass. I have that memorized. like all of the like little shortcut jumps through like rocks and mountains, and like it would only take me like a little bit of time to have all of that down to like a science again. But I'm just, like I said, the muscle memory is there. Like I just plug in and go, and I'm back to where I was the last time I played it.
Thank you, Christopher
Brown
Brown.
said that is a good number 5. What do we have in chat? Billy, my go-to, my main for Mario Kart 64 is Yoshi.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah?
Yep.
Good old Donkey Kong, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's yours, Billy? And while you're answering that, Landon, what else do we have?
We don't have anything in chat right now. I do have Billy's number 5.
That's fine. Let's go with that.
All right. Give me just a quick second to pull it up. All right. Oh, we have Kenpachi's number 5. Kenpachi Zaraki's number 5 is Foursquare Classic Playground Game.
Kenpachi went really analog on his answer. Yeah. I do enjoy a good game of Foursquare, for sure.
I used to play that a lot in like 3rd grade. And
Yeah.
let me tell you something. That was pretty terrible.
Yeah. Humble brag.
I did not develop hand-eye coordination until post-puberty.
And he still doesn't have a lot of it.
It's mid at best.
Landon, what's Billy's number 5? You're right, Kenpachi. I did say retro. That's retro as fuck. That's, yeah. I think the only way you can beat that is like Jax. Actually, never mind. I'm not going to list things because I might be listing your list. And I don't want to do that to you. But anyway.
If I remember right, Billy, it's just Bowser in Mario Kart. It's
there's no Bowser Jr. in Mario 64. It's Mario, Luigi, Wario, Donkey Kong, Peach, Toad. Is Wario in there? Yeah, Wario's in there. Donkey Kong, Wario, Bowser. Those are your 3 heavies. And you have your 3 mids, which are Luigi, Mario, and I know that the lights are Yoshi, Peach, and Toad. Waluigi's not in it. I feel like I'm missing one.
I don't think Waluigi existed whenever Mario Kart 64 came out.
That's true, because wasn't he introduced on the Wii? Like Wii Tennis?
He was introduced in Tennis, but I'm pretty sure that was
it GameCube?
It was either GameCube or 64. I can't remember.
I could be wrong. Somebody fact check this for me, but I do believe Waluigi was not introduced until the GameCube, maybe?
We got number 5 in chat. Christopher Brown.
Story Love, the top 5 is top 5 retro games. Yep. And it can be retro themed games or actual retro games or just games you consider retro.
Christopher Brown's number 5 is Pitfall.
Pitfall, definitely a retro game. And that's funny because we were talking about the Batman game on the Commodore 64 last week, which was basically just a Pitfall ripoff that I never actually got to play because he didn't get past the first rope swing. But yeah, Pitfall is a classic. And then I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the God, what is it called? The Nathan Drake games. Tom Holland played him. They made a movie.
Oh, you're talking about Uncharted.
Uncharted. I believe the Uncharted games were based on the idea of Pitfall, and probably Indiana Jones, because obviously Pitfall is an Indiana Jones ripoff. But anyway, what else we got?
Ben Stewart's number 5 is that computer game where you snowboard down the mountain and the Yeti catches you and eats you.
And Billy immediately in the chat behind him, Bennett, ski free. Love it. That is phenomenal.
Story Love's number 5 is Freddy Fish for PC.
I don't remember this game.
Oh, I played a lot of Freddy Fish.
Really?
Yeah, I played specifically one Freddy Fish game, and I cannot remember a thing about it. I remember there was like a taffy machine at one point, and at another point you played like a battleship type game, and that's all I remember because I was 5.
Oh wow, that is. I might have to look up Freddy Fish. I must be beyond my time. I'm not familiar with it.
Oh, Humongous Entertainment games were the shit back in the day.
Yeah. Is that all of our chats? Did you get Billy's?
I have not said Billy's yet.
Okay.
But I think that might be everything from chat.
Okay.
If another one pops up, yell at me until I notice you.
Okay.
Billy Rhodes, number 5. The year was 1992. Baby Got Back and November Rain were at the top of the charts. Hard cut to me at my cousin's house, about to play Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for Sega Genesis for the first time. Of course, since I was the youngest and the first, I had to be Tails. That didn't matter though. I loved it. Sonic 2 was a huge improvement over the first one. They added the spin dash attack and Sonic's BFF, Tails. It was my job to collect the rings my cousin lost, and when he got hit, and to fight Dr. Robotnik while my cousin hid in the corner of the screen since Tails had infinite lives.
That is, this is like what I love about this list, Billy. This is like the story people type into recipe blogs before you get to the recipe. It's awesome. It was a cold winter day, and my grandpa had just lost 3 fingers to frostbite, and I found the perfect pumpkin soup recipe.
I lost my innocence that day.
Yeah.
Nothing was the same.
I remember his grandpa was flailing and bleeding all over. My mom said, "Don't you think we should put some allspice in this?" Anyway, Landon, my number 5 is probably one of the most aggravating video games of all time. If you've played it, I feel sorry for you. My brother and I dumped way too much time into this game trying to defeat the game, and that is Seacross. Now, if you're not familiar with Seacross, it was a game for the NES system where you ride on what are essentially space snowmobiles on a laser grid, firing lasers at other snowmobiles that are coming at you. And I played this game. My brother and I played this game endlessly, hours upon hours upon hours, day after day, week after week, trying to finish this stupid game. And I forgot about it. Like, I moved on to the Super Nintendo. I never played it again. I forgot it existed. And one day we were sitting at dinner and we were all talking. And I was like, "Joey, what was the name of that stupid snowmobile game we played all the time?" And he's like, the one with like you shoot the lasers and the guys like come at you. And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I don't know." And I was like, "We never finished it, and it like took forever, and we just played it over and over again." And so we looked it up. We Googled it. After some Google searching, we came across Seacross and an article explaining that this stupid fucking game has no end, and it just continues in a circle around the same level, never gets more difficult, and you just play it over and over and over and over again with no save points, no ending, no boss, no way to win it. And we had no idea, because in the 80s and 90s, the early 90s, they didn't give a shit. They just made games and put them out there and didn't care about whether you had a satisfying ending or not. And so that was my experience with Seacross. And you asked, why is it on? You might ask, why is it on my top 5? It's for the memories, man. It's for the memories, because the game sucks.
So Stockholm Syndrome, gotcha.
Yeah, it's a Stockholm Syndrome. The game is the, where my strong feelings for it come from, for sure. But anyway, Landon, what do you have for your number 4?
My number 4 is the second game I owned for the Nintendo 64. It is something that I played off and on until my sister moved out and I didn't have the console anymore. That is Donkey Kong 64.
Oh, dude. Yes. Yes.
I got so far into this game, but with the way my brain works, if I stop playing a game for a little bit and come back, I have to restart from the very beginning. There is no picking up from an old save. I am starting fresh so that it stays fresh in my mind, and I can play through the entire first half of this game blindfolded at this point.
Really? I don't own it, so we can't test that, but that's incredible.
Yeah, it's something I put way too much time in, and it stuck with me.
Yeah, full disclosure, I never played that game. Donkey Kong Country is such a beloved memory of mine that I never moved on from it. I never even played Donkey Kong Country 2, and certainly not Donkey Kong 64.
You never played Donkey Kong Country 2?
Nope.
A lot of people say that's better than 1.
I have no idea. I've never played it.
You just crystallized Donkey Kong Country in your head, and that's where time has stayed still.
Yeah, because 2 is where they introduced Diddy Kong, right? Like, you don't have Diddy Kong in the first one.
Yeah, 2 is where they had Diddy Kong.
Yeah, no, I never played that game. I only played the original as well, not the original. Not, that's a whole different game with Jumpman and Donkey Kong's the villain. But no, the Donkey Kong Country 1, finished it, never went back. I've not played a single other Donkey Kong game since. That includes Diddy Kong Racing. Never played those either.
Damn.
I know. I suck.
You're missing out on a whole world, man.
Yeah, you're right.
A whole Kong world.
Billy Rhodes says Diddy is in the first one. So anyway, I only played Donkey Kong Country 1. It's the only one I finished. Moving along, though, what do we have in chat?
Story Loves. Number 4 is Tomb Raider for the PS1. It was so hard. My dad, siblings, and I spent months getting past the puzzles and enemies. Then it's like, oh, did we reach the end? No, dinosaurs.
Yes, I remember this. And in my very early pubescent mind, when Tomb Raider 1 came out, which I guess I wasn't really that early, because that's like, what is that, like, it's like 16, I guess. Those polygons were like,
oh god, those triangles.
right? Yeah. the Madonna bras on that that version of Lara Croft. But yeah, for sure. Tomb Raider's one of those games that, like, it created an entire genre. It was so good. So
yeah, I have never played any of the Tomb Raider games.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, they're good. They were good. They were especially good at the time they came out. I don't know if they really hold up to today's standards. There was some really wonky controls and physics for Lara. It was really easy to, like, it was terrible for that, like, where the camera moves through the character and then you're looking through part of their body while trying to, like, target something, and you're like, get your hair out of the way. Like, I just want to kill this thing. So,
I mean, to be fair, that's still a problem now.
It was a lot worse. Like, a lot worse.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Kenpachi Zaraki's number 4 is Dodgeball. If you know, you know.
I love me some Dodgeball. I really do. I'm great at dodging. My throwing arm sucks. I've never been good at throwing things accurately. Just not an ability I've ever had. But man, do I love playing Dodgeball.
Again, I didn't develop hand-eye coordination until after puberty, so I wasn't good at this either. Christopher Brown's number 4 is RuneScape.
Yeah, I know this is stupid. I can remember that RuneScape is a game. I can't remember how you play it. How do you play RuneScape, Landon? What's RuneScape?
It's an MMO. You go around, you kind of do almost anything you really want. Like, you can do magic, you can make weapons, you can fight, you can fish, I don't know if they have farming in the game, but you can make arrows, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
But, like, the bread and butter is always the combat.
I feel like I played it. I just, my brain is not correlating that, like, mental image to the name of the game, and I apologize.
Old school RuneScape is something I've played on and off, and it's fun. To me, it's a fun little distraction for a short amount of time, but I enjoy it.
Cool. Yeah. I probably won't go back and check it out now, but I seem to have fond memories associated with it as soon as I find them, Spaceboy said, I got cyberbullied for the first time on RuneScape. Aw, everybody remembers their first time.
Ben Stewart's number 4 is X-Men on the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, that game I never owned a Sega Genesis, but I did get to play it at other people's houses, and it's a fun game. And it was the first time you get to play as like Wolverine, which is awesome. Speaking of Wolverine games, here is the regular Nintendo Wolverine game. It sucks. It's hard to play, and not as fun as it should be. But there it is. Adamantium Rage, I think, was the first good Wolverine game I played. And then there's X-Men Arcade's Revenge. It's another good old classic game. Space Boys #4 is up there too.
Yes. Space Boys #4 is Mario Kart Double Dash. It's like the first video game I remember ever seeing. Being the youngest, I was not allowed to play though. Kart.
Good. That was good. Yeah, dude. Double Dash is fun too. I'm not as good at the more modern Mario Karts as I am at 64 though. Really, like I suck.
I haven't played Double Dash.
Yeah.
So I know nothing about it.
It's fun. Ben said we owned a Genesis like way after it came out. I don't remember that. I never played the Sega Genesis. And we grew up in the same house, so I don't know where that was. If you were hiding it from me, how dare you? My #4 is a game.
Billy's.
Huh?
I got Billy still.
Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot Billy. Billy sent in a list this week.
Yeah. Billy Rhodes #4. The year 1994. Ace of Bases, The Sign ruled the airwaves. Nelson Mandela was elected president of South Africa, and I played Guerrilla Wars for the NES. It was a top-down run-and-gun style shooter taking place on an unarmed Caribbean island. Only much later in life did I learn that it was about the Che Guevara and Fidel Castro taking over Cuba.
Yeah, sometimes when they're making a fun game, they leave out the part where you're emulating a real life situation that went down. But yeah. Let's see. Ben says we had X-Men, Power Rangers, Sonic, or maybe Jeremy brought it when he stayed for the summer. We definitely had one in the family room TV at some point. So we had on the Super Nintendo, we had X-Men, Power Rangers, definitely not Sonic though, because the Power Rangers game was a lot of fun because once you played the linear story from beginning to end, it turned into a fighting game where you could fight as Power Rangers and Zords and monsters against each other, which was a lot of fun. But that was Super Nintendo. And I also think before Ben was playing video games, so they're probably similar games, different consoles. But yeah, my #4 is a game that I played with my older brother Joey pretty religiously. We had it for Super Nintendo as well, but the regular Nintendo one is where I made all my memories, and that is Double Dragon. Obviously, this was a side-scrolling action game a la Streets of Rage and Ninja Turtles and not King of Fighters. Some other really good ones out there, but Double Dragons is my favorite one out of that kind of franchise. And I just loved everything about the characters, the story, what they were doing, all the way up until the Double Dragons movie released, which is awful, like just awful. And in the annals of video game movies, is right up there with the Super Mario Brothers movie, for sure. It's bad. It's really bad.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah. But anyway, Landon, what's your #3?
My #3 is, it's a classic for me. I'm going to say that much. It is Diablo 2. I played this at way too young of an age. I saw so much gore. I saw some suggestive themes that warped my young 5-year-old brain. But I had a lot of fun. I liked playing the Necromancer then. I still like playing the Necromancer now. I know it's not the meta, but screw the meta. And yeah, this was just like one of my favorite games. It was something I played alongside my dad. we played single player mode, but it'd always be like one of us plays and the other one just sort of watches. And that's how I spent a lot of my time with my dad as in my younger days.
I remember getting Diablo 2 for the PC. It's one of the only PC games besides Warcraft that I owned and played beginning to end. So yeah, I have a lot of fond memories for Diablo 2 as well. I believe I played as like my typical go-to for games like this is like a barbarian type character, and I think that's what I played for Diablo 2 as well. So
my dad's go-to was the paladin.
Yeah. What do we got in chat?
All right. Get ready for this one. Space Boys number 3 is Wii Sparks Resort. Yes, I know the first one started it all, but you're on an island. There's ping pong. Sports. Fuck, Landon, if you have a heart, you will say it as sports.
Well, he doesn't. Yeah, dude, Wii Sports Resort, blast. I spent like, Landon, did you do this? Did you spend way too much time making Miis that look like other things? Like I made like Spider-Man, all of the Scooby-Doo characters, Batman. I just had like a catalog of Miis that were just other things.
Wait. You don't even like Scooby-Doo. Why'd you spend so much time making them as Miis?
Because I could. because once I started using it as a creative platform, I couldn't stop myself. I had Miis of everything. I had a Mii of everything but me.
Well, no, I wasn't that person that made Miis of everything else.
Really?
I made fun characters, but it wasn't based off of anything.
I had like all the Futurama cast. Just the X-Men. Like I just spent like the game I played the most on the Wii was making Miis. Like that's what I used it for the most.
Were you the person who was uploading it for other people to use your Miis as well?
No, God no.
So many people did that. I figured you would be right at home with them.
No, absolutely not. I'm not doing anything social. Not at all. I still don't play like any game online with anyone else. I only play games against myself. Billy, I totally did that, Danny. Shit. Where is it? I totally did that, Danny. And then Buddha and Jesus were on a baseball team together. That's awesome. Spaceway said I did make them for fandoms I was in. Absolutely. I did the same thing with wrestling games. Like whenever the old like WCW versus NWO World Tour came out, and then the like WCW Nitro, and then WWF. God, what's the name of that game? There was a WWF game that came out that was made by the same company, and it was like, Story Love says I make very specific means only for family members, only for members of my family's inside jokes. That's funny.
I think they just might have meant Miis, but misspelled maybe.
Oh yeah, that's cool. But yes, I spent way too much time just crafting wrestling characters into being other characters that didn't currently exist. I did that all the way up to like the first like 4 SmackDown games. It was like my go-to thing to do, and never actually played the game that much. Just created characters constantly.
I did see somebody in one of the wrestling games, I don't remember which one, recreated every single U.S. president in the character creator just because they could.
Yeah. Well, like I had a backyard wrestling federation. I know, shocker, but I created our whole like group, all of their characters. So when they came over, when we weren't actually like hitting each other with chairs and shit in my backyard, we would like go in the house when the sun set and then continue doing it on video games with ourselves versus actual WWE wrestlers. But yes, way too much time. Anyway, I've gotten way off the rails here. I apologize, everyone. Once my sister told me she liked beans, and I made just like dozens of memes about her. Memes about her liking beans. Yes. And I need to see these because I know your sister, and I want to be in on this joke and then point it out to her every time I see her. So anyway, what else we got? And Spaceboy said, Landon, I'm heartbroken. Oh, Landy. Breaking hearts. left and right.
Kenpachi Zaraki's number 3 is Free Cell, card game on the PC. Groundbreaking, top tier graphics, amazing animations. I couldn't count how many times I played this game.
Dude, I love some Free Cell for sure.
I have no idea what Free Cell is.
Oh, okay. It's just a computer card game. I mean, I think you can play it with real cards. I don't think that anything's preventing you from doing it in real life, but I think traditionally most people just play it on PC.
Alrighty. Story Loves number 3 is Spider-Man PS1. In my rose-tinted memory glasses, it's still more fun than the modern Spider-Man games.
Yeah, that's funny because I was talking about Maximum Carnage last week, and then like getting to play Spider-Man and Tony Hawk Pro Skater. But yeah, absolutely, the Spider-Man games were a blast. They did a great job. Like, even though it wasn't like free roaming and you couldn't leave the environments, you were playing as Spider-Man for the first time in like 3 dimensions, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and the web swinging was fun to do. Honestly, if you weren't playing the main objective, you were swinging around playing with that.
Yeah. Ben said, "Isn't Free Cell just solitaire?" I want to agree with you, but I honestly can't remember.
Ben Stewart's number 3 is Beyblade V-Force Arcade Challenge. If Danny remembers, I got this for Christmas. And then shortly after, we had a family party and you connected it to the TV and you pulled the ripcord and it calculated
so
how
funny,
fast
yes.
you pulled it. And we sat there as a family for hours taking turns seeing who could do it and score the highest.
Yeah, it was you know how they have like the regular Nintendo like emulators now where it's just like 3 plugs, you put it into your components and you can play all the NES games on it. It was like that. So you just plugged it into your components.
Oh, so it was a plug and play.
Yeah, plug and play is the words I'm looking for. Thank you, Landon. So it was a plug and play, and it just calculated how fast you pulled the ripcord out of your Beyblade, and it was a digital Beyblade. And yeah, we like as a family sat down, like not just like mom, dad, and the kids, but like cousins, aunts, uncles, just sat down and competitively ripped the Beyblade ripcord for hours. And it didn't just end there. We did this for weeks. Like after everybody left, the family just kept doing it. Like my dad, who never played video games at ever, like for any reason, would do this. And it became like, I want to say, to be clear, and if anyone has not spent time with the Stewart family, we're an insanely competitive family. Like if my brother says like, I can throw this egg against that wall harder than you, every one of the 8 Stewart children, plus our niece Serena, and probably my kids now, are all going to get an egg and whip it at a wall and see who makes the biggest splat. It's just common with us. That's just the way we are. We used to have a game called Ouch That Hurts that my brothers and I came up with. And the premise of the game was
I'm not going to be surprised, am I?
Probably not. We would do things that hurt the other person to see who could go the longest without saying, ouch, that hurts, which is basically to say, like, I give up. You'd say, ouch, that hurts. You're out of the running, right?
You just reinvented Uncle?
So the first time we played this game, one of my brothers, or I did it because I'm kind of an asshole to my brothers, whipped a basketball at the other brother. And then the other brother was like, well, now I got to hit you. And then all out of eggs and mom is pissed. Absolutely. So then my other brother was like, well, now I have to hit you. And it turned into all of us lining up and just whipping a basketball at each other. And the first one who said like, ouch, that hurts was like, you bitch, you're out. And it turned into a game. So the first time we played it was just throwing a basketball at each other. And then because it turned into a game, the second time we played it, Landon, are you ready? Was with a fucking horsewhip.
Who let teenagers have a horsewhip?
Adults. I was in my 20s when we did this.
Oh.
And I'm in the middle. Like I have 2 older brothers and 3 younger brothers. So but the second time we played this was with a horsewhip for like training horses. And I believe my oldest brother's friend Jay was there for the game as well. And I think our cousin Jeremy was a part of it too. So there's like 8 of us just standing around in my parents' driveway, hitting each other with a whip to see who like bitches out first. And that's just a game we play. Billy, horsewhip? Now I'm curious. Now you're confused. If you think I mean a crop, I don't. It wasn't a crop. Horsewhips are like a 3-foot long fiberglass rod with a handle and then a whip on the end of it that's another like 3 feet long, and you use it for like training horses and dressage. And they hurt like a motherfucker, if you were wondering. And then on top of that, my brother Jesse, who's the horse girl of the family, bought a bullwhip that we then proceeded to do a very similar game with. But anyway, we're competitive. We're a competitive family. And Ben's right. I'll meet you at the spoons table. You'll be leaving sore and bruised the next day. We also be breaking chairs and tables. The last time we played spoons, it was at Ben's house for Christmas. My brother-in-law, Sam, who fits right in with our family, he's easily the most competitive out of all of us, literally dove across the table to get a spoon from my wife, Katrina, who is a small woman. And they wrestled around in the floor over this one spoon for our game of spoons. People were bleeding. Skin was broken. And that's just how we have a good time in the Stewart family. But anyway, Landon, carrying on.
Carrying on. Christopher Brown's number 3 is Kingdom Hearts for the PS2.
I love Kingdom Hearts.
It is a game I played the intro to, and then I couldn't play anymore because it was my friend's copy, and I just didn't have access.
And you haven't played it since?
Haven't played it since.
If you walk away, you won't hear me say, please, oh baby, don't go. Simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. It's hard to let it go. And that song played on repeat in my brain for literal years after Kingdom Hearts. So, oh yeah, dude. We would also play the game with a knife. That game's called Knife, where you get like 5 of us, and we stand in a circle and throw it at each other's feet, and you have to move your foot to wherever it's stuck in the ground. It's actually like a fun version of Twister, but it involves knives. You point the knife at someone, and that means they have to take the turn, and then you throw the knife, and if it sticks in the ground, they have to you only get to move one leg. In Knife, you only get to move your like pivot. You have a pivot leg and a move leg, and you have to move your other leg to touch the knife. And then when you do that, you get to pick the knife up, pick another person and throw it. And as you fall over, inevitably you get out of the game. The great thing is we don't just play normal where like you throw it in the dirt in front of the person. We'd like launch it at a tree across the yard and see if it sticks and stuff like that, just to like piss people off. Because every once in a while it worked. You just like throw a knife and it'd go like 50 feet and hit a tree and it'd stick. And then the other one's like, fuck, I'm out. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And I like Billy was like, yeah, I got you a whip. I know. Is that all of chat?
That's everything except for Billy's.
Give me Billy's. Give me good old B.E. Rhodes.
Billy Rhodes, number 3. The year was 1993. We were all living in a gangster's paradise with Coolio. May he rest in peace. TLC was on everyone's book box.
F in the chat for Coolio.
In the alley, and we all loved this. And we all loved "This Is How We Do It" by Montel Jordan.
This is how we do it.
And between chilling with the homies, we all were straight jamming on Chrono Trigger for the SNES. This game was my introduction to the JRPG genre and is probably one of the best examples. It's got 7 playable characters, party management, dynamic story, and like 15 different endings. I probably have over 100 hours into it, and it was the reason I quit my T-ball team.
Dude, yeah, Chrono Trigger is a great RPG game. It's right up there, and I don't want to list a bunch that are probably going to show up on somebody else's list, but like Secret of Mana is a great one too. All of those in that genre and that time period. I'm not a big like RPG player though, but I'm familiar with them enough that like I know the stories and like how they go down and stuff. But I hate turn-based games for the most part.
Yeah. Chrono Trigger is something I have in my Steam library. I have it installed on my computer. I have it looking at me because it's near the top of my games list every time I open up Steam. And I'm like, eventually, I'm going to play you. Because I bought it like full price and I was with the full intent of playing it. And I just never got around to it.
I want to go back to Ben's comment here too. He's talking about the spoons game we played at his house a couple of Christmases ago. He said we started with plastic spoons and everyone started getting cut, so we had to go to metal. Later that night, I had to buy new spoons because the ones we used were all bent up. So yes, we destroyed Ben's household spoons.
Yeah, that should be everything.
All right. My number 3 is a game that, speaking of the sunk cost fallacy, my brother, again, Joey, who I spent most of my formative years hanging out with, would go to the mall and play, and that is Gauntlet Legends. I could not tell you how many times I've probably paid for that arcade cabinet with the amount of money we dumped into this game. But I love Gauntlet Legends. That game is phenomenal, especially in an arcade situation where like you're just trying to just defeat worlds and not blow all of your money and get somewhere in this game. But they later released it for the PS1 and the N64. Which for me, it was fun to finally be able to play it linearly from like beginning to end without dumping a shit ton of money in it. For some reason, it kind of ruins the fun of the game as well. And then there have been some more modern releases of Gauntlet Legend games, I believe, in the Gauntlet Legend franchise, and then obviously some copycats. But I love Gauntlet Legends. That game is a blast, and I played as the Barbarian when we played it. So, yeah. Landon, what do you got for number 2?
My number 2 is something I still play to this day, and that is Pokemon Crystal. This was the Pokemon game to me in my young brain. This was the game I kept my Game Boy on for days on end because the battery had ran out in the cartridge and it wouldn't save data anymore. So I probably was the thing that eventually burned out my Game Boy whenever it finally died. This is something I played and replayed and replayed. Didn't know anything about Celebi, didn't know anything about like being able to breed Pokemon at the time, didn't know nothing, but I just played that constantly.
Is Red in that game?
Red is not, or yeah, Red is in this game.
And Red's in the game.
He's the big final boss after you beat the main story.
The star of Netflix's live action Pokemon series is the villain of this?
He's not the villain. He's just the ultimate challenge.
I think I've only played one Pokemon game ever. And it was for the original Game Boy. I don't think it's original Pokemon, though. The only reason I remember is because I had a Charizard that had no fire attacks and only had physical attacks. So his cut was like max level. And then I would use him in Pokemon Stadium on the Super Game Boy. For the Pokemon Stadium game for the N64 where you could put your Game Boy game into it.
Yes.
And I would use him, and then I thought he was cool until I played against somebody that actually had a well-leveled Charizard, and they beat my ass like mercilessly. And I was like, I never want to play this game again, and I didn't.
Wow, you rage quit on an entire franchise.
I did, yeah, for sure. I did play Pokemon Go for a while. I don't know if that counts. I guess it is a Pokemon game, but
I could never get behind Pokemon Go.
Really?
Yeah, I tried. I just couldn't.
Katrina and I played it like in our when we first started going out. We would like go around town and play it. We went on vacations and played it. Like we were pretty deep into the Pokemon Go for a while, and then we just kind of stopped.
Yeah. But yeah, Pokemon Crystal. That
Nice.
is my favorite Pokemon game. It is not the best Pokemon game to me, but it is my favorite.
What's the best one?
Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's a 6 out of 10, and it's the best Pokemon game out there.
Okay, perfect. What do we have in chat?
Ben Stewart's number 2 is Legend of the Mystical Ninja, my favorite Super Nintendo game.
If you've never played Legend of the Mystical Ninja, you play as this weird ninja character and then his sidekick, which is literally Mario in a ninja outfit. And you get cool weapons like a flute and a yo-yo to go on your ninja adventure with. The game doesn't have save points. It does have spots where it like lets you like continue. Like if you die, you go back there. But if you run out of lives, you don't restart at any of your checkpoints. You restart at the beginning of the game. So you actually have to finish the game before you run out of lives, or there is no continue. You start the game all over again. That being said, I love Legend of the Mystical Ninja. That is a great game.
Kenpachi Zaraki's number 2 is Tecmo Super Bowl, original NES game. Think my record for rushing in a game was 2,000 yards and over 3,000 in passing. That game was so much broken fun.
I don't know that I ever played this.
I've never played Tecmo Super Bowl.
I believe correct me if I'm wrong, Kenpachi, but I do believe Tecmo Super Bowl was a handheld. It was not like a full release game or like a console release game.
No, he says it's for the NES, so
well, never mind. I take it back. Well, if that's the case, I never played it, but I know enough about it. I've seen references of it. Certainly, the Beastie Boys reference it in a song. So
I have seen like a couple of videos going over the history of Madden and football games, and it always starts with Tecmo or something from like the Amiga or something.
You know, there's only 2 sports games I played on the regular Nintendo. The first one, none of these are on my list, and if they're on yours, I apologize. The first one was Double Dribble, which didn't have actual players in it, but did have actual teams. So it had like the teams were like not the Chicago Bulls. It was just like Chicago, but their logo was a bull. I love Double Dribble. My oldest brother Mikey and I used to play Double Dribble all the time. And then there was a robot baseball game, and I cannot remember the name of it right this second. Usually I can, and I apologize that I don't remember it. But it was a baseball themed, or it was a baseball game where you played as different kinds of robots. And if you had a tie at a plate, if you had a tie at the plate, whether it was first, second, third, or home between the baseman and the runner, you had to then robot battle for who was safe, or whether you were safe or out. And so they had like baseball cannons for arms and like spiked weapons and stuff like that. I just remember it being a lot of fun, and I always wish baseball was more like that in real life, because baseball's boring as shit to me.
Joey would not like to hear that. Joey's a huge baseball fan.
Space Boy, I apologize for my opinion on baseball. Ben said Super Baseball 2020. That's not it. But I think baseball, while it is the great American pastime, great to play, terribly boring to watch.
Man, I should really introduce you to Blood Bowl.
Okay, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. All the Warhammer factions as football teams.
I'm in. Yeah, absolutely. There was also a robot football game called Cyberball, I think. Possibly. I don't remember it, but yeah, maybe.
Christopher Brown's number 2 is Medal of Honor Frontline for the PS2. This was the first shooter game I was allowed to play growing up.
I remember Medal of Honor. Not a big first-person shooter fan, so I didn't really play it, but I do remember it. I think Base Wars might be it, Ben. I think that might be it.
Space Boys number 2 is Cool Math Games for Kids. I was in the 2nd grade computer lab when we finished all our work. My teacher told me to play on that thinking it was an educational website. It wasn't. It had Papa's Freezeria.
I love the inception on this. It was a learning game. You just didn't realize it.
What did we learn from Papa's Freezeria?
I'm not sure, but it was aimed at being an educational game. Landon's like, no, it wasn't. You got fooled, kid.
Learned how to work a minimum wage job.
Yeah, you learn to lower your expectations. That's one of the most important things you can learn in life. I have no idea. I've never played it. I don't know. I was just joking. Landon is like visibly triggered about me saying that, so I apologize to all of you.
It feels like you're snitching on us to the teachers. Not cool.
Yeah, all of you Zennials out there, I apologize. Anyway, is that all of the chat? We got Billy's number 2, right?
Yeah, that's everything. Oh, wait, Story Love. Just add it. Story Loves, number 2. I forget what it was called, but the game gave you graphics from the 90s Spider-Man animated show that you could manipulate. You could record your voice and make your own Spider-Man episode.
I remember this game, and I also don't remember what it's called. I offended all of our Gen Z audience. Yes. As long as it's not the Gen Alpha, those kids will come after you.
Yeah.
My daughter Claire, she's all skibbity rizzed up. It's like I have no idea what's going on. She says words in another language.
I think you actually gave me some form of poisoning just saying that.
Oh, that's based. But yeah, the 90s Spider-Man like create your own story game where you could like it was like it had like coloring pages and like you could like record your voice and like animate. And yes, I remember that. I don't remember what it was on. I think maybe it was like a web-based or PC game. But yeah, I totally remember it. Skibidi, Ohio or whatever. Yeah, for sure. What's Billy got?
Billy Rhodes, number 2. The year was 1993. We were all confused as to how Informer by Snow was more popular than Dr. Dre. But there we were at the UB40's other song. But there we were with that and UB40's other song that isn't Red Red Wine. What was that song? Nah, who cares? Because right now, I'm talking about Myst. If you liked environmental storytelling, rich lore, and FMV video games, then you were all up in that D&I collecting those book pages. It was one of the best-selling games for the rest of the decade.
I remember Myst. Myst was a blast. I love that game. Yeah, I think I only had a like computer trial version of it. I never had to play the full game, but like the bit I got, the like 10 hours of play I got was awesome. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, absolutely. Myst. I almost said Riz. Myst, great game. From what I know of it. My number 2 is a fun I want to say PS2 game. Yeah, it's PS2. It's like it's the game that grew up to be Baldur's Gate 3, I think is maybe the best way to describe it. But you play as a character who becomes the summoner and you gain a team of people who go on this adventure with you and you fight evil and you take on this great big demon. And it's Summoner from again, THQ made it. It was a PS2 game. It's also one of the only like PS2 games I can think of that had a post-credit scene that was like a joke where they just had all the characters playing out a scene from what I think was Kids in the Hall. It's a blast. If you haven't played Summoner got a sequel too that wasn't as good as the original. And then also PlayStation, and I'm sure it's on Steam, but PlayStation recently dropped it on their PlayStation Plus network, and it was like a what am I trying to think of? Like updated,
Remastered?
a remastered version of the game, which I'm probably not going to play, but it was a blast whenever it came out. And I remember finishing it, and then it just has this comedy cutscene at the end as a like post-credit scene that was a blast, especially for a game that was incredibly serious in its storytelling. And then to have the ending be a skit from Kids in the Hall, where the main character, the main villain, and his friends are all like playing out the characters from the skit. So anyway, was the post-credit scene the I'm squishing your head sketch? No, and I may be wrong about this being Kids in the Hall, but they're literally playing D&D, and the villain is like the annoying player at the table, and so the main character you play, as I forget his name, is like you walk into this room and it's dark, and the one character's like, I attack, and he's like, well, what are you attacking? And he's like, I attack the darkness. And then they all giggle, and then the villain sticks his head in from the kitchen, and it's just this giant like monster sticks his head in from the kitchen. He's like, are there girls there? And the guy's like, yeah. And he's like, because if there are, then I'm gonna do them. And that's like how the skit ends. So stupid. But yeah, and it was just a weird, like, they threw it on the post-credit scenes of this very serious like adventure game. Anyway, check it out if you get a chance. It's a blast. I guarantee you'll laugh at least a little.
More games need to do that. The Blizzard games were big on doing that.
Yeah. But anyway, that is my number 2. Landon, are you ready to give me your number 1? Landon, your number 1, please.
My number 1 is steeped in nostalgia for me. It is something from a franchise I still play a lot, even if I don't necessarily play this game as much. It is something that, remember how I talked about me and my dad playing Diablo 2 together? Yes. We did this with this game too, and that is StarCraft.
Ah, yes.
The original. My dad was the type of player who loved using the additional money cheat, show me the money. And me, as like a little 5-year-old, he'd say, type it in. And he'd let me type in the little cheat for him. And then he'd go back to playing. And I'd just watch him and maybe sit there and play my Game Boy too. But that's how I spent a lot of time with my dad back in the day.
Yeah. So I never played StarCraft, but I know it's like Warcraft in space, right?
That was the joke when it first came out. Orcs in space.
Yeah. And I apologize if Warcraft is on anybody's list as their number 1. But whenever I played Warcraft, I'm sure StarCraft had the same thing, but you could like change the like ease of things in the game and like make it to where you could like have all the money and populate a bunch of, and it was just a setting you could change on Warcraft. And I remember just being like, I hate this. Like, I'm tired of losing at this game. And I was kind of new at it. And so I like changed it to where I was almost unbeatable. And then like level 10 of Warcraft, of like combat or like building your world or whatever, they put you up against a whole nother group exactly like you with all the same rules. And so everything that you did to make yourself better in the game is negated because the other team has it too. And it's like the game was like, yeah, you're not going to win like that. Fuck you. It's like, you got to get good at this, stupid.
I never played the original Warcraft, so yeah. I have no frame of reference for that. But yeah, the original StarCraft is something I still play through purely for the story alone. Yeah. I mean, I love the writing back then, and the second one kind of messed up on the writing a lot.
Yeah, like Blizzard, when are we going to get a World of StarCraft game? You know?
Why are you asking Blizzard? You got to ask Microsoft.
Oh, that's valid. Yeah. Is Blizzard not making World of Warcraft?
What?
Does Blizzard not make World of Warcraft?
No, Blizzard makes World of Warcraft, but Blizzard is also not the same Blizzard it was when it made World of Warcraft.
That's valid. Anyway, carrying on. What do we have in chat, Landon?
Yeah. Story Loves. Number 1 is Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. The first game I ever 100%ed.
Yeah. I love the Spyro games. I don't think I've ever finished one. My wife, Katrina, she loves the Spyro games, and actually I bought her the remastered collection when she was homesick. Actually, the first time she got back from Europe, she came back with COVID, and she stayed in bed for like 2 weeks, and I bought her those games so she could play them. Spyro, Tom Kenny, you know, great collection of platformers for sure.
Yeah. He wasn't the original Spyro, was he?
You're putting me on the spot. I think Tom Kenny has been every voice of Spyro.
Oh. All right.
I think. Maybe not Maybe not every iteration. Obviously, they've done some different ones, and like I don't know that he voiced him in like Skylanders and stuff whenever they came out with that. But I believe he was the original Spyro.
Okay. But yes, Spyro. I've played some of the original. I have not played Ripto's Rage, and I played a few of the more modern games, but can't really touch on Ripto's Rage much. But what
Yeah.
I have played, I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Kenpachi Zaraki's number one is X-Men Legends 1 and 2. Gauntlet-style games that eventually became the Ultimate Alliance games. But X-Men Legends had the trivia game in it. Best minigame ever.
Yeah, dude, X-Men Legends, I think they really lost some of what made those games work when they switched to Ultimate Alliance. I love the X-Men Legends games. They were a lot of fun, and the introduction of like mutants that didn't exist in the main X-Men canon to the X-Men Legends games was fun to give you like a character that gave you an in that wasn't an existing canon character. Now, obviously, I just did things with like Wolverine, but to each their own. And Ben said, "Man, X-Men Legends, we stayed up playing the first one. And I just remember that we played all together up until the end, and they beat the game while I was sleeping because I had a 9 o'clock bedtime." That's true. Yeah. He went to bed, and me and the other younger brothers finished the game without him.
Christopher Brown's number one is Halo 3. It is 17 years old, so I consider it retro. I played thousands of hours with my brother on a 19-inch TV, drinking way too much Mountain Dew.
Was it regular Mountain Dew or Code Red? I feel like it had to be Code Red. That's just my feeling. Not a big first person shooter guy, so I didn't play a lot of Halo, but I did enjoy like co-op matches where like me and my brothers and cousins and stuff played Halo against each other. Voltage. Ooh.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Halo 3 was actually the first Halo game I ever played. I remember I was at a friend's house at the time and he had just gotten it, and we just both stayed up way late into the night just playing the game. I didn't know a thing about the story up until that point, neither did he, but that did not stop us from just having a ton of fun with the game.
Does anybody know if they've finally dropped the Baja Blast gelato that we mentioned a couple weeks ago on the show? Because man, I'm excited to try that. No, you don't know? I don't
I
know
have
either.
no clue.
Okay, carrying on.
Ben Stewart's number one is Ninja Shadow of Darkness on PS1. This game was incredible, and I believe the first PS1 game I ever played.
I feel bad. I don't remember this game. I don't remember. Actually, I take it back. I do remember this game. I immediately am wrong in the thing that I said. I do remember this game, and it was fun. Yes, absolutely, Ben.
And I believe that might be everything from
What about
the
Billy's?
chat.
Give us that hot number one from the Billy Rhodes.
Yes, I was going to get to that. Billy Rhodes, number one. I was initially hesitant to
Oh,
add.
you in trouble.
What?
You in trouble.
Oh, did I miss Space Boy? What? What? Yours isn't even in here.
Where is it? It's not on the list. Did you forget to comment it? Space Boy, what about you?
It is not in here. When I said everything from chat, I mean everything currently in chat, Space Boy.
No, not a Baja Blast gelato. Gelato.
It's commented.
Where? Where is it commented?
I am scrolling up right now.
Comment
I am
it again.
not seeing a number one from you. I'm hitting your number two. There's no number one here.
It's in my. It's not. It's not in the chat. Chat's cooked, fam. It's not in there.
I'm pulling up the quick YouTube video. Yeah, I'm not seeing it in the YouTube comment either.
It's so funny. Oh my god! Full stop on the show. Space Boy just commented again.
Space Boy, you can text it to me. You have my number.
I'm trying to read Ben's comment.
Oh wait, the top one?
Yeah. What does HM stand for?
I have no idea.
So just like a which is weird because my memory is known for being awful. But Blast Corp, I had to be like 4 because it was at the Earlville house. But Danny rented this game. I believe it was a construction game on the N64, and he had friends over, and they were upstairs in his room doing whatever teenagers do at the time and playing this game. And I was sad and like sat outside the room because I just hung out with him. Yes, dude. I did have this. I don't if Blast Corp is the name. Totally possible, but it's a game where you just play as like construction mechs, and you just go around doing construction stuff, and it's like the whole mission of the game, and it was so much fun. Honorable mention, thank you for clearing up what HM is. Space Boy's rage quitting over the comment not coming through. What, does it got like cuss words in it or something? Is it getting blocked? I don't understand.
Okay, I am seeing it. Okay, so Space Boy has taken a screenshot of the chat and sent it to me, and it is posted in their chat.
We're not seeing it.
I'll go ahead and do
what is it?
Space Boys, number 1. I was going to say Neopets, but they do crypto/NFT now. So pbskids.org is the GOAT. Not only was PBS Kids the best TV channel, they had a website with Sesame Street games. I fucking love pbskids.org.
I'm so glad we got to actually getting to it because it's great. Yes, pbskids.org. Many an hour of my life has been spent on that recently.
Why?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. I didn't know if there was like something you were checking out because like there was news or something and you wanted to see for yourself or what.
I just like Elmo, man.
And that's fair. That's completely valid. Yeah. Anyway. Billy Rhodes.
So we found the one limit to like YouTube comments. If you say anything about pbskids.org, they don't let the comment come through. Maybe it's because it's a website. Maybe it's blocking it because it's got a website in it. That tracks, for when people send us links to like porn sites and stuff in the middle of the chat that you guys don't get to see. Elmo sucks. How dare you? How dare you? You guys want to hear my Tickle Me Elmo impression?
No.
No? Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Moving on.
I got scared. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You don't want to hear it? It's fine. Move on.
Okay. Billy Rhodes, number 1. I was initially hesitant to add this game because it isn't really that old. It only came out like 5 years ago. But then I realized 1999 was 25 years ago and not the 5 that I permanently think it is in my mind. I don't know why you think I don't know why your mind is permanently in 2004. But okay. Anyway, the year is 1999. Cher just unleashed to Believe, and TLC was still hanging in there with no scrubs. And by God, did I ever jam out to Sixpence None the Richer.
Kiss me.
I had just gotten my Sega Dreamcast and a game I knew nothing about called Shenmue. It was a huge game requiring multiple discs, but they were jam-packed with a free town, 3D world, tons of collectibles, dynamic weather, and storytelling. Totally rocking original music, interesting characters, and my original waifu, Nozomi Harasaki.
Nice. Yeah, I was waiting on more. Also on the Dreamcast, and it did get ported over, but I think that it was really only good on the Dreamcast. Crazy Taxi. You guys ever play that?
I've seen a lot of it, but I've never.
Dude, Crazy Taxi was a blast on the Dreamcast. The OG God of War is also a classic. Brisk. Yeah, nice, Ben. Yeah, so absolutely, Shenmue was awesome. And that dude, the Dreamcast, like, it's so sad that the Dreamcast didn't last because it was such a good system, and Sega had so many good ideas and games for that. Like Twisted Metal was on there, and what was the Vigilante 8, the like other Twisted Metal style like car combat game. Oh man, so good. And then a lot of those got ported over, especially whenever Sega switched to just doing games. But the Dreamcast, like, ahead of its time. Billy, yeah, Crazy Taxi was tons of fun. Dreamcast ahead of its time, and it's so sad that it didn't last because it deserved to last. It was better than the PS1, hands down.
Skies of Arcadia was an amazing JRPG. It came out late into the Dreamcast when it was already dying, so it did terribly. And it is one of those firm cult classic games that I see a ton about, and I wish it was around.
Yeah, the Dreamcast is a great example of just because you have the best system on the market does not mean that you're going to be successful. Crazy math taxi on cool math games. That's solid, Space Boy. Uh, uh, yes, the Dreamcast was a really weird console, especially the like screen, the like little digital screen in the middle of the controller that like was supposed to be for something in the games, but like I never played a game where it was useful. But yeah, for sure. My number one uh Dreamcast controller sucked was the issue. It's not worse than the original Xbox controller. That one also sucked. But the my number one is a game that like changed my life. It was so good, and that is Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Uh, Now, obviously, Ocarina of Time is one of the greatest games of, ever made, but I think Link to the Past is the greatest game ever made. It is my favorite retro game. It changed gaming for the better. Incredible. Absolutely love everything about it, beginning, middle, and end. The multi worlds, timelines, like everything in that game is just so good. It introduced a lot of the mini games that would go on to become like other games, like um, Animal Crossing, like the fishing and like searching and like farming aspects of Animal Crossing are in this game. So like it's so many games, it's so many pieces that became full games later that are in one game. Highly recommend if you never get a chance to play it. And then the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, which is the sequel that was only on Game Boy, is also incredible. Both great games. Christopher Brown says he's never played any Zelda game. Uh, uh, I would say if you're trying to get into them, Ocarina of Time or Breath of the Wild as a more modern introduction. If you're not trying to get into them, I'm sorry, you're missing out. I love Legend of Zelda. It's probably my favorite game series, for sure. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for all of your choices tonight. All great choices. Your lists were all great. Also, thanks for hanging in there with us for a 2.5 hour show. I promise we're gonna get this time down eventually. There's just been so much to talk about lately. Next week for our hit list, Landon, what are you thinking? Got any ideas?
I got nothing.
Landon's got nothing. Billy says start with Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. I don't think Wind Waker is a good. It's so far removed from good Zelda games. It's a whole different genre on its own. I haven't played Twilight Princess, so I cannot. I can neither. I haven't played Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword. I know both incredible entries into the genre that I have not played because I suck, but I will get to them eventually. Spaceway says Wind Waker is the best. Uh, I, I'm not with you on that. I don't believe that that's true, but that's just one man's opinion, even if it's absolutely 100% correct. But anyway, let's do for our hit list next week. In Billy says, but Wind Waker is great. And I'm only thinking about this, and maybe I'm a bit off on this because it's not what happened to Red from Pokemon. But let's do top 5 FNAF characters. No, let's do 5 favorite characters that started out as villains and then became heroes. So redemption arcs. Let's do top 5 redemption arcs. Sound good? Everybody on board? Any questions? Way better than She-Hulk, Ben says. Anyway, this has been the hit list. Welcome back to the show. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Great show tonight. The chat was lit. I love each and every one of you guys, and I enjoy you being here. And thank you for continuing to show up and being fans. We love and appreciate you. Landon, you have anything to say to the nice folks?
Just as always, thank you for being in the chat. I really loved seeing everybody, in addition to talk about their favorite retro games, share the memories they had with those games. It was honestly pretty heartwarming to hear everybody's good memories.
Yeah. And I just want you guys to remember, it's not a classic that just came out. And we'll see you next time. Landon, will you read Space Boy's comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Space Boy. Top 5 FNAF characters. Boom. I'm a genius. Slay. I hope that's what you were talking about.
No, I think he means the one that never posted.
Oh.
But anyway, you guys have a great night.